Welcome to a new chapter in our journey through the fascinating world of classical music. Today we bring you something truly special, 12 curious facts about the great composers you probably didn't know, from Mozart's most unexpected eccentricities to Beethoven's deepest secrets, including surprising stories about geniuses like Chopin, Bach, and many more. Did you think you knew everything about your favorite composers? Get ready to be amazed by anecdotes that will make you see them in a whole new light, from their strangest habits to the moments that define their lives. Stay until the end, because not only will we tell you these incredible stories, but we'll also recommend the best books for musicians that will inspire you to dive even deeper into the world of classical music. If you enjoy this video, subscribe right now so you don't miss more stories like this. 1. Mozart and his obsession with jokes. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, the child prodigy who amazed the world with his symphonies before turning 10, had a side few people know, a sense of humor that we might call quite peculiar. Born on January 27, 1756, in Salzburg, Austria, Mozart grew up in a home where music was part of everyday life. His father, Leopold, a respected violinist and teacher, trained him from an early age to be a virtuoso. But behind that image of the flawless genius, Mozart was an incorrigible prankster. In his letters, especially those to his cousin Maria Anna Thekla, known as Ball, he often indulged in crude humor filled with scatological jokes that amused his family but shocked others. For example, in a 1777 letter, he wrote things so explicit they'd make us blush today. And yet, this same man who joked like a teenager composed masterpieces like The Marriage of Figaro and The Magic Flute, full of depth and beauty. For Mozart, humor was a release valve, a way to cope with the pressure of being a genius in a rigid society. But that same humor sometimes got him in trouble. Nobles expecting refined behavior saw him as immature, costing him patrons. His life reminds us that even the greatest geniuses have their quirks. 2. Beethoven and his battle with deafness. Ludwig van Beethoven, born in 1770 in Bonn, Germany, is synonymous with strength and passion in music. His symphonies, like the Third, Eroica, and the Ninth, Ode to Joy, are hymns to humanity, but few know how deeply he suffered because of his deafness, a tragedy that marked his entire life. At 28, Beethoven began to notice that he couldn't hear high-pitched sounds. At first, he thought it was temporary, but the deterioration was relentless. By the time he composed his Fifth Symphony, with its famous ta-ta-ta-tan, he was already relying on the vibrations of the piano to hear his music. Imagine the pain of a composer unable to enjoy his own creations. In his famous Heiligenstadt Testament, 1802, Beethoven confessed his despair. "What a humiliation when someone beside me heard a sound I could not." But instead of giving up, he turned his suffering into art. He composed the Ninth Symphony almost completely deaf, using only his inner musical memory and his genius. Yet that same deafness isolated him from the world, making him irritable and lonely, finding solace only in his music. His story is one of resilience, a reminder that even the greatest geniuses fight inner battles. 3. Chopin and his preserved heart. Frédéric Chopin, the poet of the piano, was born on March 1, 1810, in Zelazowa, Poland. His nocturnes and waltzes are pure emotion, but his life was full of curiosities that make him even more fascinating. Chopin was always fragile, and at 39 in 1849, he died in Paris, probably from tuberculosis or a related illness. Before dying, he made a strange request, that his heart be taken back to Poland, his homeland. His sister Ludwika honored that wish and took it to another level. After his death, his heart was removed, preserved in alcohol, and transported in an urn to Warsaw, where it's still kept in the Church of the Holy Cross. This gesture reflects not only Chopin's love for Poland but also a common fear of the time, being buried alive. Later, in the 20th century, scientists examined his heart and discovered he probably died from pericarditis, a heart disease. Isn't it incredible that such a delicate composer left such a powerful legacy, and that his heart literally remains part of his story? 4. Bach and his musical duel. Johann Sebastian Bach, born on March 31, 1685, in Eisenach, Germany, is considered the father of Baroque music. His Brandenburg concertos and the well-tempered clavier are pillars of classical music. But few know that he once took part in a musical duel that almost turned violent. In 1717, Bach was already a renowned organist, but also known for being stubborn and proud. A French composer, Louis Marchand, challenged him to a musical duel to prove who was the best organist. The competition was to take place in Dresden, before nobles and musicians. Yet, on the day of the event, Marchand fled, fearing Bach would humiliate him with his skill. The episode strengthened Bach's reputation and showed his strong character. Years later, he used the experience as inspiration for works like the Goldberg Variations, displaying both technical mastery and emotional depth. Who would have thought a musical duel could fuel such creativity? 5. Tchaikovsky and his disastrous marriage. Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky, born May 7, 1840, in Votkinsk, Russia, was the genius behind ballets like The Nutcracker and Swan Lake. But his personal life was filled with turmoil. In 1877, he made a life-changing decision: to marry Antonina Miliakova, one of his former students. Why did he do it? Some believe it was a desperate attempt to silence rumors about his homosexuality, illegal in 19th-century Russia and punishable by exile or prison. But the marriage was an absolute disaster. Tchaikovsky didn't love Antonina, and living with her plunged him into deep depression. So deep he once tried to end his life by jumping into an icy river. He survived, but the emotional damage was lasting. With the support of his patron, Nadezhda von Meck, a wealthy widow who paid him a yearly allowance, Tchaikovsky recovered and continued composing masterpieces. His story reminds us that even the greatest geniuses face personal struggles that make them profoundly human. 6. Liszt and his rockstar life. Franz Liszt, born October 22, 1811, in Rating, Hungary, was not only a piano virtuoso but also the first true rock star in history. In the 1840s, Liszt toured Europe giving concerts that caused literal hysteria. Women fainted, screamed, and even collected his used cigar butts as souvenirs, a phenomenon historians call Lisztomania. But eventually, Liszt grew tired of fame and turned to teaching and composing. He founded a music school in Weimar, where he trained a generation of pianists. In his later years, he made a surprising choice, becoming an abbot and leading a more spiritual life, composing introspective works like Annie's de Pelerinage. Isn't it fascinating that such an extravagant man ended up seeking inner peace? 7. Handel and the fire that saved his career. George Friedrich Handel, born February 23, 1685, in Halle, Germany, is best known for his oratorio Messiah, one of classical music's most iconic works. But his path to success was anything but smooth. In 1737, Handel went bankrupt, exhausted from directing operas in London. He also suffered health issues after a nervous breakdown. Then, a fire destroyed the theater where he worked, forcing him to reinvent himself. He gave up opera and turned to oratorios, which were more accessible to audiences. That's how Messiah was born, premiering in Dublin in 1742. During rehearsals, the audience was so moved that one critic wrote the music seemed to come from heaven. This twist of fate not only saved Handel's career but made him a legend. His story shows how crises can spark greatness. 8. Schubert and his life in the shadows. Franz Schubert, born January 31, 1797, in Vienna, Austria, was a prolific composer who left over 1,000 works, including lieder, symphonies, and chamber music. But he lived in poverty and obscurity. Despite his immense talent, Schubert never achieved the fame of contemporaries like Beethoven. His friends organized small gatherings called Schubertiades, where he performed his songs for intimate audiences. After his death at 31, his manuscripts were discovered, and works like the Unfinished Symphony and string quartets became classics. Musicologists later realized he had created all this brilliance while facing constant financial hardship and illness. Isn't it tragic that such a genius was recognized only after his death? 9. Vivaldi and his double life. Antonio Vivaldi, born March 4, 1678, in Venice, Italy, is famous for the Four Seasons, a masterpiece that captures nature's beauty. But few know that Vivaldi was a priest, nicknamed the Red Priest for his red hair. However, he rarely celebrated Mass, preferring to devote his life to music. He was accused of having too close a relationship with the singer Anna Giro, his muse and protege, sparking scandal in conservative Venice. Despite criticism, he kept composing, leaving a legacy that still resonates today. In his final years, he fell into poverty and died forgotten in Vienna. His story shows that even geniuses endure unfair judgment, but their art endures. 10. Haydn and his musical joke. Joseph Haydn, born March 31, 1732, in Rohrau, Austria, is known as the father of the symphony for shaping the genre. But he also had a unique sense of humor. In his Symphony No. 94, the Surprise Symphony, he inserted a sudden loud chord in a soft passage, designed to wake up sleepy concertgoers. The joke became one of his most famous moments, showing Haydn's wit and connection with his audience. His cleverness also shines in his string quartets, which balance complexity and warmth. Haydn reminds us that music can be serious and fun at the same time. 11. Brahms and his fear of marriage. Johannes Brahms, born May 7, 1833, in Hamburg, Germany, is famous for his passionate symphonies and chamber works. But he never married, despite being deeply in love with Clara Schumann, wife of his friend Robert Schumann. After Robert's death in 1856, Brahms and Clara grew close, but he never took the step toward marriage, perhaps out of fear or respect for Robert's memory. He poured his feelings into music, especially his Piano Concerto No. 2, which many believe was inspired by Clara. Brahms had other muses, like singer Agathe von Siebold, but always chose solitude. His story shows how unrequited love can inspire the most sublime art. 12. Debussy and his rebellion against the rules. Claude Debussy, born August 22, 1862, in Saint-Germain-en-Laye, France, revolutionized music with his impressionist style. In his youth, he was a rebel at the Paris Conservatory, where teachers criticized him for breaking traditional rules. They said his music was strange and disorganized, but those same innovations made him a pioneer. Works like Clair de Lune and La Mer broke classical structures, creating soundscapes full of color and emotion. Debussy also faced criticism for his turbulent love life and scandals. His story shows that sometimes breaking the rules is the path to greatness. If you enjoyed this journey through the curiosities of great composers, subscribe to the channel for more stories that will amaze you. Don't forget to check the links in the description to discover the best books on classical music, perfect for musicians and music lovers alike. Your support helps us keep sharing these stories. Thanks for staying until the end, and see you in the next video.